Yeah, we're not doctors or giving any medical advice. This show is intended for educational purposes only, and you should talk to your doctor about any medical issues. Now, let's get at it.
Welcome to Chat the Fat, where nutrition authors Nissa Graun and TC Hale are going to break down common low-carb mistakes. Let's chat all things low-carb, keto, digestion, and more so you can maximize your results.
Hello, good people, and welcome back to Chat the Fat. This is episode 35. I'm TC Hale, and I'm here with Nissa Graun at almost holiday time.
It is. So I don't think it's a secret that we record these a little bit ahead of time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how committed we are to lying about the actual seasonings since we haven't trick-or-treated yet.
Yeah, so we're about a week out from Halloween, and I am wearing a Christmas shirt because I guess I'm one of those people.
You are deceptive. I like it. Are you like going into Walmart and shopping at the, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas section that those kind of stores pile up?
I am not a Walmart shopper. I am committed to Target.
Good.
Yes, but at Target, we do visit the Halloween section every single time, and my kids beg for stuff every single time, and they have asked for Christmas stuff, but I know if I get that, it'll be gone before Christmas gets here, so
Right.
too much
Yeah.
clutter.
Right. Who can deal with it all?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that today's show, I'm going to throw you a curve. I know that we were supposed to talk about spring training and baseball kind of stuff today, but I want to talk about traveling while on keto.
Yes, I think a lot of people, including myself, travel around the holidays and then they stress out because they don't know how to travel while also eating keto.
Okay. So I think we should cover that.
All right.
You'll have to we'll have to scrap this baseball outline. I don't know a whole lot about baseball anyways.
Either do I. Just
Okay.
go, Cubs, go.
Okay, so let's do this one instead. Okay. You got some other stuff to talk about first, right?
I do. Since it is the Christmas season, I do have a testimonial from one of my friends who I roped into our last keto challenge. And basically, this is my friend Cindy, who, when I hold these keto challenges, I never really market it to my friends. I never try to get them involved. But in Cindy's case, I've known her for going on 15 years. And over those 15 years, we both struggled with our weight together. And ever since I found the keto lifestyle and low carb, I've been trying to coach her through how to go low carb for several years, but she was very resistant because she was really afraid to give up her dependence on sugar. And so lately she's been texting me and letting me know she's been having some pretty serious health problems that I know keto would help, but she was still pretty resistant to it.
So were you
But
just like, you're gonna do this challenge, or I'm gonna post this picture of your hair in 1989?
well, 1989, I didn't know her back
All right.
then. I was
All
9
right.
and we worked together. Um, so one of my other friends that we also worked with, that we were close friends with, joined the challenge. And so I thought it was a great opportunity to recruit her and another one of my friends who also I've been through the weight loss struggle with as well. So since they both joined, I thought it was a great opportunity to get her to join. And I really didn't care if she joined the challenge or won the challenge. I really just wanted her to get on the path to get healthy because she has a son that's actually a year older than my son. He's 7. And I know that it's really important for her to be around for him long term. So I really wanted her to get her health back. And I thought maybe a challenge could be the thing that would kickstart her. Maybe having the opportunity to win a big prize might actually motivate her. And so she ended up joining the challenge with her husband, and he saw pretty good success as well. And so during the 3-week keto challenge, she ended up losing 14.3 pounds.
Wow.
And she was so excited because she broke her lifelong addiction to sugar, which she didn't think she could do. And she actually posted in the group that her joints, which have been bothering her for years, stopped hurting her after less than a week of following a keto plan. And she had a ton of other amazing things to say. Obviously, this changed her life. So I just wanted to read a quick testimonial from her in
Cool.
case anyone else is thinking about changing their life with keto. Maybe like her, they've been thinking about it for years and they haven't quite made the change yet. Hopefully, this testimonial will convince them. So Cindy had to say, "This was an amazing group. Thank you all for the great information and motivation. Congrats to everyone for all of your amazing accomplishments during the 3-week challenge. I wanted to give a very special thank you to our coach, Nissa. You're an incredible friend and coach. I don't know if you realize how many people's lives you are not only changing, but more importantly, saving. This 21-day challenge has changed my life, the way I look at food, and what I put into my body. I finally know that I have the willpower to break free from the chains of deadly sugar. Just know that you have changed my life in 21 days, and I will be forever grateful. Knowing that I will be around and healthy for my son is the best gift you could have given me. I will keep on this journey. I know it didn't take me 21 days to gain this weight, so it will take time to lose it, but I now know that it's possible and I'm at the point of no return. So thank you, thank you, thank you. P.S. I should have listened to you years ago, but better late than never."
Right.
So obviously a great testimonial. And so the keto challenge ended about 3 weeks ago, and I was texting with Cindy, and she's sticking to it. She's still doing it and still
That's
seeing
great. And
progress.
what's kind of awesome is when somebody is like kind of jacked up and has other issues beyond wanting to lose weight. So with her joint issues, we talked to a lot of people that see improvement because for a lot of people, not everybody, but for a lot of people, the joint issue can come from eating too many carbs and sugars that's pulling too much calcium out of the tissues, and then it gets deposited in the wrong place and creates this joint pain. So when people drop the sugars and the carbs, the calcium can start going into the right places like it's supposed to, and the joint pain gets better. But for someone like that, they can be like, holy mackerel, look at this improvement that I saw so quickly. So even if she didn't lose 14 pounds in 3 weeks, it would have been easier for her to stick with it just because she saw a drastic health improvement.
Yeah, and I know she's had other health issues, which I'm not going to bring them all up on this podcast because I didn't ask her. um, but she's had other health issues, and I know once she switched over, she got rid of the sugar. She was drinking sugary drinks for breakfast.
Oh, wow.
So once she got past that lifestyle and into a keto lifestyle, I know she's had so many health improvements in just a short time, and I'm excited to see how she keeps improving over time.
Yeah.
All right, so we are actually getting close to gearing up for a brand new keto challenge since we are starting the second week of January, and we're in the holidays, so that is going to come sooner than anyone knows. And the good news is the support group this time around is actually going to be held in our Keto Decoded support group. And this is great because now all of our Keto Decoded members are going to receive the same support and motivation that comes from the 3-week challenge. And as you can see by this testimonial, there's definitely a ton of support and motivation that happens in the group. So if Cindy, who is addicted to sugary drinks for breakfast, can have an amazing transformation like this in only 3 weeks, I'm really excited to see what's possible for everyone else. And while registration isn't quite open yet, you should get on that waiting list because I don't want the challenge group to get too big. I just want to make sure that everyone has the attention that they deserve during the 21 days of support. So make sure that you get on the waiting list so you are the first to hear about when the Keto Challenge doors open. And that waiting list is at eatingfatisthenewskinny.com/keto challenge. And just a few more weeks, we are going to be back to getting amazing transformations.
Yeah. And what better time than to do it right at the beginning of the year when everybody's like, oh, wow, I should do something good. So
Yes.
before the next week, when you drop all that, start this so you'll be stuck in at least a 3-week challenge and you'll have motivation to keep going.
Yeah, I'm giving them about a week to get situated in January because it's such a busy time of year, but they have
Right.
that first week to get situated, get their mind right, and get into it because not only are we going to see amazing transformations, but we are going to see how big we can get that prize pot so people will be motivated to win prizes as well.
Great. Awesome. Fun.
All right, so now that we had that amazing testimonial and hopefully you're feeling all warm and fuzzy, now we are going to talk about keto while traveling. Since it is the holiday season and so many people travel for the holidays, it can be important to stay keto. And a lot of times adding that stress on top of the holidays that already is, you're adding the stress of holiday travel and you're spending time with family that you may or may not want to spend time with, which can add even more stress to what already amounts to a very stressful time of year. So, to ease this travel stress for the holiday season, we wanted to record this podcast to tell you to calm down because all of that stress is going to lead to holiday weight gain. Of course, we thought we'd be a little bit more helpful than just reminding you to calm down by giving you 10 keto travel tips for the holidays.
But
Of
that really
course,
is like a good one though. The simmer down is a big deal because, when you're stressed, guess what your body does? I mean, it a lot of times it will think, okay, I'm there's stress, so I must be like running from a lion. So I'm going to create more glucose to give this immediate fuel source so they can run away from this lion and save their lives. So just the feeling of being stressed can it's not just this thing of, oh, you're going to gain weight. There's actually science to why you're going to gain weight. So understand that, simmer down.
yes. So even though that's not one of our tips, that might be one of the biggest takeaways you take from this is just because you're not eating a lot of carbs doesn't mean your body doesn't realize that if you're all stressed out.
Right.
All right. So
So I know
we,
Uncle Ben is annoying, but it's just going to be a few days. You won't have to see him again until next year. So just calm down.
that's true. So we have 10 keto travel tips for the holidays. And really, these tips can be used any time of the year. So if you're stressed out during the holidays or some other time when it comes to traveling, we have you covered today. And I actually had a lot on this outline, so we are actually going to make this a two-part episode.
Cool.
All right. So let's get into our first 5 tips on how to stay keto while traveling. And the first one I started with was you can eat a large meal before you leave for your trip. So eating a large nutrient-dense keto meal can help you stay fuller longer than a meal that's filled with carbs. So if you're unsure about what your travel options will be, eat safe foods while you're still at home, so that way you don't have to compromise your meals later in the day at the airport or however else you're traveling. Obviously, it's easiest to be prepared while you're at home, so definitely make the most of it by stocking your body up with the nutrients that you've already bought that are in your fridge. And of course, you'll also save money by not paying the high prices that are at the airport. I actually just got back from the airport and it's expensive.
How delicious was your $7 bottle of water?
Oh yes, they make you buy that because they don't let you take it through security. So
Right.
that's something I do need to buy. But yeah, I did find some meals. I found some that were tasty and some that were not. And whether they were good or not, I still paid like $30 for a burger.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So, and obviously, some airports are getting better. They're getting more options in. Like I was just in San Diego, and they have one of my favorite places called the Counter Burger, where you can get a burger and put all kinds of toppings on it. Um, so some airports have you covered as far as it goes for keto, but you just never know once you get there what you're going to find. Same thing with gas stations or convenience stores if you're going on a road trip. So, filling up on those healthy options before you leave means that you don't really need to worry about what options you'll find while you're traveling. And of course, this tip is meant for the time that you spend traveling on planes, trains, or whatever mode of transportation you're using for a long day spent traveling. We're not telling you to eat a big meal, go on vacation for 7 days, and then don't eat again until you get back because most people don't want to do that.
Yeah. That's not our top suggestion there for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled in an RV?
I have not done a road trip in an RV, but I did grow up camping in a camper that stayed in place.
Right. Yeah. So I was kind of wondered how much easier that would make it if you could like, you're bringing a kitchen with you. If it was like a legit RV that had like a kitchen in it, and stuff like that. I've always wanted to do that. I haven't done it yet.
So we went camping pretty much every weekend during the summer growing up, and it was kind of stressful for my mom. I look back now that I'm the mom and I have to do these things, that how stressful that is to like get all the food packed. First you have to shop for the food, get it all packed, drive with it a few hours to the campground and then unpack it all and cook it all.
Right.
It's a lot of
Right.
stress.
Yeah.
So not that easy. All right, so we are on to our next tip. And tip number 2 is to stock up on travel friendly keto snacks to take with you on the plane as well as to have available once you're at your destination. So many restaurants and rest stops have been catching on to this new real food keto lifestyle, and a lot of them are stocking up on keto friendly options if you're in a pinch, but you might as well be prepared just in case.
Yeah,
So going
one thing you said there is like they're catching on to the real food keto thing, and I'm also seeing as much as you're finding a lot more keto options out there. You're finding a lot more, fake food keto options out there too. And when you're traveling, I almost view it as, maybe it's just like you're getting started, and maybe you use some of these crutch kind of things that aren't, real food so much. And maybe that's not so bad if you're on a trip for a week. You know what I mean? Maybe you have some of these things that are not as much real food as you might have at home. And that's kind of how I do it. Like, okay, I'm on a trip, so maybe I'm not doing as good as I would at home, but I'm still doing well.
Yeah, and I think maybe it'll help people feel more vacation-y if they're eating stuff that they don't usually eat at home, but it's still considered keto friendly.
Right. And that's totally a word. Vacation is absolutely.
Vacation-y. I make up a lot of words.
No, I
It's
think
the
it
mold
counts.
brain.
Yeah.
So going prepared will help you ensure that you do have high quality options because, like you just said, just because you pull up to a gas station and it says it's a keto friendly option, keto friendly or a package that claims to be keto friendly does not always equate to high quality or something that you should be eating. So we definitely want to start with low carb options as the first goal. But over time, you want to elevate what you're eating by upping the quality of foods you eat. So, like you said, if you're at home and you're upping the quality of foods, but you're in a pinch, or maybe you want to feel vacation-y by eating some of those foods, sometimes it's okay to bring those other keto-friendly foods into the equation that you might not eat all the time. But you still want to go prepared because when you're traveling, there's no way to predict the quality of foods that you're going to find. So a lot of times when people are eating a keto lifestyle, their palate actually improves. And so even if there's a McDonald's there where you could just throw the bun off the foods, you might not even like it anymore. I know
Right.
I personally can't eat McDonald's anymore.
Yeah.
It's,
And one I really like is like beef jerky is great. I don't eat beef jerky in my life ever, but when I travel, it's something I use a lot just because I can put it in my suitcase kind of thing. But if you're going to find beef jerky like on the road, you really got to look at it. I've seen beef jerky where when you look at the ingredients, they list sugar before they list beef. I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you talking about? How can there be more sugar in here than there is beef? Uh, so you really got to watch that because people like to make beef jerky into candy.
Yeah, I know my husband, Jason, is not so great at reading nutrition labels when he buys food, and that's definitely tripped him up quite a few times where he thinks he's eating a keto-friendly option because it's beef jerky. And then he looks at the carbs and he's like, "Whoa, 12 grams of carbs in one little stick," which is insane, but a lot of companies actually do that.
Right. Yeah. And like it was funny in our support group the other day. I think it was Amber that posted something about that she got this great meal at a restaurant that you look at the meal and you're like, yeah, that totally looks. And then she looked at the nutrition facts and it was like, we inject the chicken with sugar and cotton candy and who
Oh
knows what
yeah.
went in there, but the numbers were outlandish.
That happens a lot of times when eating out. There's a reason that some of these meals taste so good. It's because
Right.
they add sugar to them.
Yeah.
All right. So when I'm traveling, I get sad because I don't get to take my fat bombs everywhere. I don't really know why, but when you take the fat bombs out of the fridge, they pretty much start melting right away, even though some of the ingredients just normal don't start melting right away, but the fat bombs do.
Right.
So to make up for that, I bring quite a few sticks or I don't know, squares of the 90 to 95% dark chocolate with me to make up for the lack of fat bombs. And the dark chocolate does have a little bit more carbs and also a little bit less fat than maybe when I mix it with coconut oil. But my feeling is when you're traveling, you can't bring everything from home with you. So you just kind of have to do the best that you can. And so for me, eating 95% chocolate isn't the best I can do at home, but sometimes it's really the best I can do while I'm traveling.
Right. And I also like if I'm eating at a restaurant somewhere, I'll ask them, do you have real butter? Can you bring me some real butter? and more than
Yes.
you think I'm going to want. And then I, so in those scenarios, I'll take my broccoli or whatever vegetable I'm eating, and I'll really like just have the broccoli with some butter. And so I don't do that much butter on the actual food when I'm at home, just because I'll usually just be doing a fat bomb or something. But when I'm not, I'll cheat with just extra butter.
I was actually at a hotel this weekend, and I had to go to an event at a different hotel. So before I left breakfast, I took about 6 little squares of butter with me so I could put it in my coffee.
Nice,
And
nice.
I was freaking out the whole time that they were gonna start melting or open all over my nice backpack.
Right.
But they didn't. I was
That's
safe.
good.
All right. So we have other great keto options for travel in case you are traveling and you just don't know what to take with you. So let's go over some of the options that might work, like those Parmesan cheese crisps, which include either the wisps or the moon cheese, which I have seen at Costco. You could get a really big bag of moon cheese or Parmesan wisps at Costco. Also, nuts like macadamia nuts are really high in fat, but walnuts and almonds are also good options. And one tip I have for that is you want to make sure that you're pre-portioning these out into individual servings, because it's so easy to go overboard when you're snacking on something like nuts. And
Right.
yes, they're low in carbs, but they still have carbs. So if you're just eating them right out of the bag, it can be pretty easy to go over your carb allotment just by snacking right out of the bag. So definitely pre-portion those out.
Yeah, and some
Um,
of the nuts have even more, like, cashews and stuff like that. They have like even more carbs than the ones you listed.
yeah, they do. So definitely check the nutrition information before you eat them. We've had people in our group that get upset because they ate them and then they check the nutrition info and then they're over their carbs for the day. So it's definitely a lesson to always look at that before you eat it and portion it out. Something else that is good on the go are actually nut butters. And they make actual individual serving size packs. A lot of different companies do. I've seen Justin's makes
Hmm.
those at Target. I've seen them, or you could get them at Thrive Market. There's other companies. The F-Bomb company makes different kinds as well. So there's a bunch of different companies where you can get those. I know when we travel, it's not so much anymore because my kids are getting more independent. But back in the day, when I had to take care of my kid every second on the plane, I would look over and Jason would be nibbling on his little nut butter packet like a squirrel while I'm like frantic trying
You
to
have
take
seven
care of
kids
two
like
kids.
trying to take their pants off and show the person next to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, my 3-year-old would actually do that right now, but but yeah, so my husband was getting his nice nut butter break while I was trying to juggle the kids. So um, now he takes those with him. He travels for work a lot now. So I don't have to get mad at him while he's eating them because he does it in private. So then another good snack is beef jerky, which we just talked about. Always make sure you check in that nutrition label to make sure it's not loaded with sugar. Some other things include pork rinds or even coconut chips, which I like to get mine at Thrive Market. And if you are getting the coconut chips, I've seen different varieties, so it's important to make sure you're checking the carb content on those because some of the ones with flavors also have sugars in them.
Yeah.
So you could still eat them on keto. You just want to make sure that they're fitting into your carb count. Like I think they're something lime coconut chips. They're so good, but they're 6 grams of carbs a serving. So I'm always sure to portion that out and make sure it fits into my day. And then something else you can look into is they actually have fat coffee packs. And so these are prepackaged fat that you can take with you to add to things like tea or bulletproof coffee. Since, like I just had my story about taking butter, that could get
Right.
messy. If I had those packs with me, I would have been a lot more confident that it wasn't going to spill all over the place.
Right. And of course, pork rinds are the mainstay for me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of pork rinds.
I didn't used to be, but lately
Mhm.
I like them a lot more.
Yeah, they're great if you need something to dip in. I also like the cauliflower thins. Those are really portable. I actually took some with me yesterday, put some butter in a bag, and I was just dipping while I was driving.
Nice.
Not the best tip to give, but it worked. And then, of course, if you are going on a road trip or you have a cooler that you could bring with you, there's some other quick and easy snacks you could take with you, like hard-boiled eggs, cheese. Cooked bacon works well. And of course, fat bombs. But I only recommend fat bombs if you have a cooler, because otherwise you'll get to wherever you're going and they will be melted all over the place.
One of my favorite things I've ever bought is this little cooler that works as a cooler, but then you can also plug it in to your car. Uh,
Oh, nice.
so there's like a cigarette lighter in the back of our car that you can just kind of plug it in while it's in the trunk, and it just stays cold like the whole trip. That's one of my favorite things.
I
You
think we
can't have.
actually have one of those too for when we make our annual trip to Disney.
Mm-hmm.
That's more Jason's department, though. I guess it's a guy thing.
Right, right.
So another option that you could do is you could search Amazon or even Thrive Market. You could just put in the word keto snacks or some similar term, um, because there might be other snacks out there that you might not think of or we're not mentioning, but maybe they sound good to you. Of course, you always want to make sure that you Google that nutrition label before you order something that says keto snacks, because just because it says it's keto friendly doesn't mean it's keto friendly for you. And you definitely need to be sure that you're taking into account the total carbs if you're eating those packaged foods, since a lot of packaged foods like to boast about their net carbs. And that's when a lot of people can start getting into trouble on keto, since they end up eating too many carbs with too much fat, and they're counting net carbs and they're eating too much fat. And that means they start to gain weight, which we don't want.
Right. And you definitely want to at least read the labels, because, like, like gasoline is keto if you look at the breakdown of the nutrition facts, but it's still, it's you probably don't want to eat a lot or drink a lot of gasoline. So you really want to look at what kind of chemicals people are putting in there.
Yes. And so while we're on this, if you are Googling for keto snacks and you go to Thrive Market, which has an amazing selection, we do have a Thrive affiliate link where you can save 25% off your first order, and you get free shipping on any order over $59. So I always used to hear about Thrive and I'm just like, I have Amazon, why bother? But I think I've saved like $400 just this year from ordering on Thrive. And I don't really even order that much, but I do order things like my Great Lakes collagen. And I looked at the savings compared to Amazon, and it's $5 off a can. And we
Yeah.
go through those pretty quickly. So things like that can really add up quickly. So it's definitely worth hitting up our affiliate link where you'll get another 25% off. Where's that
We'll put it
affiliate
on the
link?
show notes page. It'll be at chatthefat.com/episode 35. And we'll also have a free download there for you. Do you want to tell them what that is?
We will. So we are taking the next two shows to give you 10 tips for when you're traveling. And I know a lot of people listen to these podcasts when they're driving or walking, like I do, or I listen to podcasts when I'm doing dishes, just to learn more and break up the monotony of doing dishes. So you don't have to scurry and take notes. I am going to do a list of these top 10 tricks for travel. So that way you could just print it out, keep it on your fridge, and when you're ready to travel, you'll have all the tips ready for you.
Cool.
All right. So we are on to tip number 3. If you are stuck for a meal, but you still need to get extra fat in to help your body maintain ketosis, bulletproof coffee can count as a meal. So depending on what you add, there can be enough nutrition in a bulletproof coffee to actually count as one of your meals. And I practice what I preach, since I drink bulletproof coffee pretty much as my first meal most days. It's pretty easy to make it while you're traveling. You just throw butter in like I did, which you can pretty much find everywhere. And as you mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that it's real butter and not the margarine stuff. I keep trying to make up my own words here. Make sure it's not margarine. I'll get it right. Or anything that says like butter like spread or butter type spread. You want to make sure it says butter or real butter, and it's made up of cream and salt.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. So always make sure that you're using that. You could also take coconut oil or MCT oil. It does get messy. You don't want to really travel with the whole bottle. But luckily, a lot of those companies I mentioned earlier, like F-Bomb, do make travel size packs. So you could take those with you to add those to your coffee without getting it everywhere. And they also have those fat coffee packets that I talked about in the last tip. And one trick that I like to use is they sell travel frothers on Amazon. So if you want to make it nice and frothy like a coffee house would, you can get one of those travel frothers, which I actually just use at home. I just keep it next to my coffee, and instead of throwing it in a blender, it's really easy to use.
And
So another,
you travel with that too?
I do. I have to be careful because I've broken a few. You have
Right. I
to
was gonna
put it
say
somewhere
you gotta
safe.
have like some kind of top secret location, pull it out like a ninja weapon or something.
Yeah, I got to be careful because if my kids see that, they will try to use it as
Yeah.
a ninja weapon.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that reminded me. So one thing I like to do when I'm traveling, so I actually went to Vegas last Thanksgiving with some family members, and my aunt and my cousin were spending their afternoons drinking margaritas, and I had my bulletproof coffee with a pack of collagen. So definitely living different lifestyles there.
Uh-huh. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm the old lady now, even though
Right, right. That's good.
um, yeah, even though I was one of the younger ones in the group, I'm the old lady with my bulletproof coffee. But I made sure to add that extra boost of nutrition by bringing a single serving size packet of collagen that I just stuck in my purse. And that's another thing that you can get off Thrive. They sell those individual serving packets on Thrive. I don't know that I've really seen them anywhere else beyond that. I'm sure Amazon probably sells it too. So that's one way to get an extra fat while you're traveling. Of course, you can always go out for coffee still. So if you go to places like Starbucks, you just want to be careful because if you're ordering things like iced coffees, they actually add sweeteners directly to it and they don't even ask you first.
Yeah.
And they're not even supposed to do it. They're not supposed to add sweeteners to things like cold brew, but I have personally been to Starbucks, ordered a cold brew, and I didn't say no sweeteners, and I could definitely taste the sweeteners. And I
Yeah.
definitely felt the problems that arise for me when sweeteners are involved. So I always find it useful to say no sweeteners just to make sure that they got that message. And some of them get a little snippy with me because they have that attitude that, yeah, I know, but yeah, they don't always know.
Right, they don't.
So one of my favorite, a lot of people get confused about what to order at Starbucks. And I like ordering coffee and I just ask for extra heavy cream because it's actually pretty low in carbs and it has a good dose of fat. And of course, it tastes really good. There's going to be people that have issues with dairy, so maybe they don't want to do that. And they can substitute that with coconut milk or almond milk or just bring their own butter. But they just need to keep in mind that when they are adding coconut milk or almond milk, a lot of times these are higher in sugar. So it's always best to check the nutrition facts before they just add all the coconut milk or almond milk to make sure that they're not getting too much liquid sugar in.
Yeah, they'll almost always have more sugar than like a heavy cream.
Yeah, they do. And so for some people, maybe they can get away with it, but it's not always the best idea, which is why I recommend maybe just sticking with adding butter to your coffee. Obviously not the iced coffees because that's just going to get all clumpy and gross, but hot coffees, that works pretty well. And that's the same thing with pretty much any specialty coffee drink that you order while you're traveling, or even if it's daily. A lot of people get in the habit of ordering their favorite coffee, and then, one day they just decide to look at the nutrition and they're shocked to find out how many carbs have
Yeah.
been in this drink that they're ordering for months now.
Right, right, right.
So I think utilizing
And
bulletproof
they're like,
coffee.
oh, I just yelled at Nissa last week for her program not working. I can't believe the names I called her. And oops. Oh,
Yes.
well, she'll probably figure it out.
Yes. Be nice. It's the holidays. Quit calling me names.
Yeah.
Um, so drinking bulletproof coffee can help curb hunger while you're traveling, and it can also provide energy that lasts longer. I know some people say that it gives them a clearer mind and more focus. And just keep in mind that if you're not a coffee drinker and you just spent 20 minutes to me listening to me talk about coffee, just know that this can also extend to other drinks like tea or even bone broth. So you don't have to limit yourself to this trick with just coffee. Because I know I talked on and on about this, and you're not a coffee drinker.
That's why I was just letting you handle it.
Yeah, I feel like I just talked a marathon.
Well, if I drink coffee today, I will be awake until New Year's. So it just doesn't work for me.
All right. All right. So we are on to tip number 4. If you are fat adapted, you can utilize intermittent fasting while traveling. And this is actually one of my favorite tactics since we as a group of people, not just our family, are so busy when traveling anyway. Sometimes it's just easier to skip breakfast and get on with the day's activities. Or if I happen to eat breakfast that day, sometimes it's easy just to skip dinner if the only options that I have available are filled with carbs. So I'm from Chicago, so that's a lot of times where we travel back to. And Chicago people love all the carbs. So if I'm presented with a dinner that has all the carbs, if I already had a really good day filled with good keto meals, I don't really feel the need to partake in those meals. And just know that it is possible that you can still enjoy a meal with your friends or families, and you can just sit there and have a glass of water or maybe a cup of coffee or tea, and you'll be absolutely fine. You will not die.
You know what else is nice is if you have a long driving trip, it's nice to keto because if you're just eating like the normal junk and you're eating stuff from a gas station and things like that, and you're driving, like you just get that carb coma, an hour after you had your 8-pound bag of bugles or whatever it is that you found at the gas station. And it's like you're in a coma. It's like you're going to pass out while you're driving. You have to pull over just to dump ice on your face or something. So it's really nice when you can do keto and intermittent fasting if you have a long ways to drive because you just kind of keep trucking.
Yeah, it's driving. Same thing with an airplane. I typically will try to fast if my flight's early enough to like where I'm not landing at 9 o'clock at night wherever I'm going. I just won't eat that day, and I'll fast while I'm on the airplane because thankfully the little packets of pretzels that they hand out don't tempt me. Like everyone else
Yeah,
just seems to be grabbing for double.
right, right. I can usually trade those for like 8 packs of cigarettes or something. Like maybe I'm thinking of prison, but in any case, you can barter those away when you don't want to eat your own.
Yes, I barter them away to my kids because they like them. We don't buy them a lot of stuff like that, so they love those.
Right.
So for me, when I'm traveling, I typically skip breakfast just because that's kind of what I do at home anyway. So it's easier to do while I'm on traveling as well. But I do like to eat dinners with my family, which is the same while traveling. So I just pretty much stick to the same routine that I'm in while I'm at home, and it just makes life a lot easier. I don't have to worry about, waking up early before we're off to do our daily activities to get breakfast in. I still usually only eat in a 6 to 8 hour window while I'm traveling, so kind of just stays the same.
Yeah, it can make things a little bit easier if you can make it work. If you're not going to like your aunt's house where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to have her banana cream pie, that kind of thing, where you haven't had it in 10 years or something. If you don't have something that's going to jack you all up, it's nice to be able to just make everything easier.
Yeah. And I do think it's still important, even if you intend to fast, like say you're taking a long trip on an airplane and you intend to fast that whole time, I do think it's important to still put keto snacks in your carry-on because you never know. You don't want to be stuck on a plane for 4 or 5 hours thinking that you're going to fast and then all of a sudden you get hungry and now the only option you have are those little pretzels or crackers. So
Right, right.
definitely still be prepared even if you want to fast.
Cool.
All right, so tip number 5 is to eat a hearty breakfast to keep you fueled longer. So we obviously just talked about doing the opposite where I don't eat breakfast. But I think if you are a breakfast person or if you think you can't fast for that long, I think stocking your body up on keto friendly breakfast foods is usually the easiest for most people because a lot of breakfast food is definitely easier to stay keto with when you can have choices like bacon, eggs, sausage, cheese. Obviously, the list can just go on and on. And yes, there are options like pancakes or toast, but it's pretty easy just to skip those and then double up on the eggs or the bacon. So I personally, when people are traveling and they don't know how to eat keto, I always recommend eating a really big breakfast, making sure that you're starting your day off right. And I feel like when you do start your day off right, then you are going to make better choices throughout the rest of the day.
Right, right. You're not panicking, starving, and then find yourself eating whatever those Toblerone bar like in a taco shell. That's what I need. I need a Toblerone bar in a taco shell. You just make bad decisions when you can't function, and plus adding the stress of traveling to
Yes, I'm pretty sure that they actually make that. I
that.
feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Are you serious? Oh, that's
Maybe
sad.
Taco Bell sells it.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so those are our first 5 tips that we have for traveling while keto. And if you want to go check out that show download, we have the 10 tips to make staying keto while traveling easier. You will actually get a sneak peek into next week's episode because you're going to get all 10 tips at once. So if you're one of those people that want to know all the information right away, definitely make sure to click on over to our show notes, which is chatthefat.com/episode 35 to get that list. But you still want to make sure that you come back for the second part of this episode, because not only will we be listing those tips, but we are also going to break them down just like we did in this episode.
Cool. All right. So we will see you guys next week. Happy almost holiday.
Whether you're brand new to keto or just looking to move past roadblocks, join us for our next Troubleshooting Keto Master Workshop. Go to chatthefat.com/workshop to find upcoming dates and register for this totally free event. You just might find your missing piece of the puzzle. Until then, we'll see you next week on Chat the Fat.